Hi, I'm Mike from 1A Auto. We've been selling auto parts for over 30 years.
Hi everyone, Sue here at 1A Auto, and today I'm going to show you how to do an upper control arm on a 2011 F-150. If you need this part or any other part for your car, click on the link below and head on over to 1AAuto.com. Just a little friendly reminder, anytime you do any front end suspension or steering repairs, set up an alignment appointment with your local garage or the one that you wish to do. So as soon as you're done doing DIY repairs, you can ship it on down and get lined up properly. Before we start, we have to measure the distance from the center of the hub to the fender. With the weight of the vehicle completely on the ground, in this case, it's 23.5 inches. To remove the tire, you need a 21mm socket, and you're going to break the lug nuts free with the pressure of the vehicle on the tire. Now I'm going to raise and support the vehicle with a 2-post lift. You can use a jack and jack stands at home. Now that the vehicle's up, I can take the lug nuts off to remove the tire. And be prepared, this thing is heavy. When you have a tire that's stuck on the hub, all the lug nuts are off. Obviously you can't pull it off. Always put a lug nut, just hand thread it a little bit, so when it does break free, it doesn't bounce back at you. Now we have to break the upper control arm nut free from the ball joint. It's a 21mm socket. Get on this side. I'm going to take this nut completely off this ball joint spindle. So the ball joint came out of the knuckle, so I have to put pressure on that actual tapered ball joint spindle so I can try to get this nut off. And whatever I'm trying is not working. So the factory ball joint comes with a hex tip, which is awesome. So I put my 21mm wrench on there to hold it, and I'm going to see if I can loosen this up. Make sure that socket, this is a 10mm socket, I want to make sure it's sitting up there as best as I can get it. I don't want it to strip. There we go. Now we'll use the leverage of the spring on that wrench. Let's see what happens. Take this ratchet off. Take this socket off. There it is. That was a lot of work. If you notice the brakes are missing, that's from another job that I'm doing on this. You do not have to take the brakes off to do the upper control arm. So now I put two 21mm wrenches on there, and this is an old fence post, and you take it, you put it in a vise, or you hammer it flat so it goes over a wrench, and this gives you the leverage that you need to break this free. Yes, it's impossible to get in there with a ratchet. So once it's broken free enough, you can probably do it by hand. Okay, let's see. You're going to have to reuse these nuts and bolts because they don't come with a new control arm. So make sure you set them aside someplace clean. Now we're going to break the other side free. Now with that control arm done, I can really get to the inner bolt. So there's a key part to taking the bolts out on this lovely setup of a control arm, and I don't quite remember it. I know I've done it several ways. There's only really one way, so let's do it together. I do believe that one bolt can come all the way out, but it hits the spring, so it won't clear. So then I think this one comes all the way out, and I think I can get this one out, and it clears. There's a rubber bushing in there on the top of the spring. In a normal situation, it might just, but this coil spring's broken. So that plays a part in this situation also because the spring itself has been sprung, in a sense. So I thought it would work in my favor, giving more space in the top here. But you can always take a pry bar and manipulate the spring just a hair, and they do say that in some of the manuals I've read. You just gotta watch out because those are your fingers. So close. See if we can't convince it to go a little bit more, like that. So now I can take this bolt out. And now I do believe with that front out, you can manipulate the control arm to get that rear one out. That's what I was talking about. It's right there. Not really getting any movement out of this. And they just gotta stop being nice about it. There it is. Now we can, with both bolts out, we can just grab the control arm, pull it towards us, and there it is. Here we have a new upper control arm for our 2011 Ford F-150 from 1A Auto. And here we have the factory. Big difference in thickness of metal. The design of the actual bushings, they improved on it. Both bushings. Subframe bushing, this one's coming apart. This one they center it. More stronger reinforcement. You get a new nut for the ball joint. factory design, where it comes with a hex for the end for torquing down and tightening. This is plastic cover that comes on for shipping only. You must remove that to install. Don't forget. So if you need this part or any other part for your car, click on the link below and head on over to 1aauto.com. The new control arm in. Line up the bushings. And now we're going to put the inner bolts in. So when you put it back in, you're going to reverse procedure. That means the back bolt goes in first, which with much perseverance, I got that back bolt started. Now I just have to put it right through there. So with much manipulation and working, there we go. Don't give up, that's all I can say. And if you're taking the strut tower out, obviously you can do this much easier if you're replacing the strut. Now let's do the front bolt. So now that both bolts are in, I'm just going to put the nuts on so the bolts don't slide out. Okay. So do not tighten these upper control arm bushings and nuts. Do not tighten them yet, because you have to basically put the knuckle on the upper ball joint and then use a jack stand, lower the vehicle down, or put the tire back on. I'm going to use a jack stand or a floor jack. And then, like we did in the beginning, we measured the height from the center of the hub to the fender well, and that's where we're going to tighten the upper control arm bushings. So we're just going to take the quick journey of snugging these down. And then I'm going to put the ball joint and the knuckle together. So now I've just bottomed those out, snugged them. You want the control arm to be able to move, because we're going to put pressure on that and level it out before we tighten it. Now we're going to place the ball joint down in the spindle, put the new lock nut on, so the new upper control arm nut is a 22 millimeter. Okay, we're going to torque that to 85 foot-pounds. Okay, I'm going to torque this to 85 foot-pounds. So now before we tighten those, we took a measurement prior to taking the wheel off, and on the ground with the lower control arm leveled, we were from the center hub to the upper fender well, 23.5, and we're right there. So now we're going to hold it there on the jack stand, and we're going to tighten up the upper control arm bolts. So the torque on these upper control arm bolts is 111 foot-pounds. That's right, not 110, not 112, but 111. I don't make the rules. Now we're going to move to the front. So I'm not going to be able to get a torque wrench in there because the ABS module pump is mounted in the frame in the front. And the only other way for me to do that, and for you to do it at home, would be to actually take this front spring assembly out. If you're doing them all together, I strongly recommend it. But what we're going to do is I'm going to snug it, and then I'm going to take that extension, big long bar that I have. I'm just going to put a little bit of body into it. So just right there, I just felt it pretty much bottom out snug. I'd say that's pretty close to 110, 111 foot-pounds. Okay, now we can put the lug nuts on. Now we're just going to bottom out all the lug nuts right to the hub, lower the vehicle, and we'll torque these down to manufacturer's specs, 150 foot-pounds in the star pattern. Okay, now the vehicle has pressure on the tire. I didn't lower it all the way enough so that there's pressure on the tire, and I could torque my lug nuts 150 foot-pounds. One more time for safe measure. Now we can pump the brakes up and check our fluid level.
Cut that audio if it's not for the brakes. Thanks for watching. Visit us at oneauto.com for quality auto parts, fast and free shipping, and the best customer service in the industry.